the players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue, the other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yay!
Yes.
Bjorn was just off podcast regaling me about his lovely trip to Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right.
The lights. There's nothing more American than Las Vegas, I say. Las Vegas is America in a nutshell. Now, granted, I've never been to Macau or like the Chinese Las Vegas.
Which may even be more American than Las Vegas. No.
Possibly. I don't know. I mean, if I know China, which I don't, it's bigger and better than most. It's bigger. But there's more casinos and they're bigger, I'm sure. But it's America Hour, it's USA Hour. As things in Europe are winding down, as it's looking a little bleak on the German clubs right now, things in Europe are winding down, cooling down. Things in America
People are
heating up.
Yeah. Well,
It's springtime, baby.
not my team.
Well, you don't always have to. Yeah, it's but also
I don't
but
always
honestly,
have to make
no.
it about me, you mean?
No, but no, the answer is no. You're 11th place, right? That's fine. We're only 5 weeks in.
No,
MLS.
it's not. That's not fine.
The second half of the season is the season, Bjorn.
It's not about, and we don't have to dwell on this. I complain every week. We do not have it has now become clear that we do not have a single competent center back on our team. That is no way to run a railroad. The end.
Well, again, you just need one. You only need to grab my hands on one or two of them in a couple of months. You just need to grab your hand. Maybe get one from the academy. Should be playing kids from the academy.
We have a couple center backs from the academy. They're playing for NYCFC too. It's a hard position. I mean, in defense of these center backs, I guess that is perhaps the hardest position these days in soccer, in quote unquote modern soccer. It used to be we had people like Katja Schwarzenbeck who who would take people out, who would be good on headers, and if the ball came anywhere near his foot, he would either kick it long and wide and let somebody else sort it out, or just kind of pass it to the person closest to him and then forget about it. Now, these days, center backs are asked to play a very high line, potentially in the case of ours. And so be very quick, be good one-on-one defenders, also good passers, because they have to distribute. So it's a hard job. And we have been spoiled with the likes of Chanot and Collins. But
and back in the old NASL days.
Yeah.
Back in the old NASL days, Americans were hired to even know how to touch the ball. They're just like, we'll just go for the legs.
Right.
And that's what they were there for.
You would have enforcers. Right. Mm-hmm.
Enforcers. Yeah.
Burke Risa, highly touted signing from Norway, got yanked in the 40th minute in this game.
Highly touted by who?
He was signed as like an Alex Collins replacement.
No.
He is not. Spoiler alert, he is not.
He's not. Yeah. Usually you find out they're not. He was yanked in the 40th minute just for performance reasons, or
for being terrible. For being terrible. We were down.
That's bad.
We were down 2-0 at that point, and after that, the team played pretty well. But some people call 2-0 the most dangerous lead in soccer. I think being down 2-0 is pretty bad. I don't. When that happens, especially in the first 20 minutes, I don't think like, we've got them right where we want them.
Right.
No, that's bad. And so, and then we shanked a penalty. That's also never good when you're trying to get back. And then we got a Keaton Parks late goal, and gave it a whirl, but in the end lost 1-2 to Minnesota United. No uh, um, which is no shame. They're good. Like they're legit pretty good. Minnesota have a very uh, um, speaking of modern soccer, Minnesota have rejected the idea of modern soccer, and they're very content to just sit back and be like, "Show us what you got, and if you don't got nothing, then they will just out counter you." And they're very opportunistic. But then, yeah, especially if you know this going in, you just can't start a game like that. That's crazy. So anyway, but I wasn't going to complain that much, so I'm going to stop here.
Well, my academy kid Omar Valencia was on MLS Team of the Week this week,
Congratulations.
as the Red Bulls Academy keeps on spurting, because that's the point. Last week I talked about playing New England and how New England is just such a disappointing club organizationally speaking. Like they have no academy, they've created no players, and they're an MLS 96er. I'm just like, what's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
Revs? You need to be. You're not go make players for crying out loud. Every club should be
Make
making players.
players.
There's
Make
no relegation. There's no, there's
play
no
the kids.
there's
Yeah.
no
Play the
risk. But anyway, Omar Valencia's team of the week. My club did win this week. We beat
Yeah.
Greggy B 2-1. Greggy B and the Chicago Fire.
Chicago. Greggy B in the Chicago Fee. Is that going to catch on?
I'm trying to make it catch on. I'm a trendsetter. I'll talk about
Don't be
trendsetting.
disrespecting the Fire. They're still ahead of you in the standings.
True, and I'll tell you, the Fire's opening goal was a masterful.
If
goal.
they would be in first place in the league if they didn't have to play at home. They've played at home
Do
twice
they
and
even
lost
have a
both.
home? Do they even have a home?
They've lost both games at home, but they're very good on the road. So watch out.
Well, Chicago Fire is a club that essentially doesn't have a home. They built a home, then it was bad, so they got rid of their home. They went back to the stadium that treated them so poorly, and now they're playing in that old football stadium that treated them so poorly. So that's a whole nother thing about their organization. But they've created players in the past. They've usually had a vibrant academy. But anyway, Chicago Fire came out swinging. They had a great first goal, but then we got an equalizer and a winner. And we won 2-1. And we're our injury situation isn't as bad as it was. We got guys like Hawk on the bench now, and Schwartz is doing a good job rotating and playing the youngsters. Like I said, Omar Valencia, who was signed fresh from our New York Red Bulls too. He is becoming he's getting a lot of minutes. He's becoming our early starlet here. Let me just double check to make sure. Sometimes I get mixed up. I want to make sure that is the case. He is coming out. Our new Polish player is Omar Valencia, Panamanian soccer player. So he also spent time with the Panamanian national team being our bogey. Yeah, he's right from the New York Red Bulls 2 Academy, and he's got 5 appearances for the first team. I love it. And Mohamed Sofo, same thing. Right out of our academy. He's been playing some meaningful minutes. I just love that we're playing our academy kids. It just warms my heart. As an American MLS fan, we should all be demanding that our
But
club
that's never
our
been
academy kids.
that's never been. You've done that for a long time though. This is not a new thing.
No, it's just again, I'm just reaffirming why I love my
Yeah,
club.
yeah. Very good.
And they're doing it right.
Daniel Young is here. He says hello.
Hello, Daniel Young, our friend. How are you doing, my friend? The Lewis Morgan injury is big. It's Lewis Morgan's such a great player, but he's only available every other season for us. we have an off season, like non-Lewis Morgan seasons, and we have Lewis Morgan seasons. This is becoming a non-Lewis Morgan season. God, I hope he gets healthy. He is missed, though. I'll tell you that. The Swede, the great Viking Swede, the Emma Forsberg's still doing some good work, but I guess the only real thing I want to talk about is Choupo-Moting. Choupo-Moting for me is now finally on Shuta watch. Because and people are like, oh, he's 35. I was the guys like Choupo-Moting's going to crush it. And he still might. It's still been a while. However, I've noticed he's good. He's been playing. He's been getting his minutes. And yeah, he hasn't played in like a year and a half or whatever. So maybe it does take a little longer for him to get sharper. But it could also be that he's 35. you know, maybe this is him. Maybe this is what he's got.
This is what yeah.
You know, that's also a possibility that hasn't crossed my mind yet. Now,
What
granted, he's good at positioning. He's just not fast. I don't think he'll ever get faster. That's fine. His positioning's
definitely
pretty okay.
definitely nobody yeah, no, you don't get fast at 35.
No,
What
he's
are
just
what are his stats? He has scored I
2
remember
goals at
I
most.
remember at least one. Yeah.
2 penalties, I think.
Okay.
2 penalties. Good question with the stats.
So
But
they're throwing him bones by
for
letting him
me,
kick penalties.
well, no, not even. He's earning his. Oh no, he's got 3 goals here. Okay, I'm being a little unfair.
Okay.
He's got
All
3
right.
goals for the New York Rebels. He
3
is
goals in 7 games is
pretty good.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, he's pretty good. That's why I'm being a little harsh here. You know what? I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna abstain. You convince. I'm gonna pretty much. I have PTSD from Elias Manuel and Patrick Klimala. These were energetic young dudes up top who just
Tom
always
Barlow,
kicked it.
no love for Tom Barlow?
Nah, I don't have PTSD from Tom Barlow. I love Tom Barlow. I have all but love for Tom Barlow. That's what that is. He also couldn't finish. I'm not saying he was a better finisher.
Yeah.
He also had the same finishing skills as the other two.
Stockholm syndrome with Tom
I had
Barlow.
Stockholm syndrome with PTSD from the 2 and Stockholm from 1. Okay, it's the relationship a fan has with their player. Pretty much, Choupo-Moting. So pretty much, they either kicked it like 100 feet off goal, and we're like, "How do you even get it that high?" Or they kicked it right to the keeper. It was like one or the other. Those are the 2 options. There was no corner of the net. There was no up top corner. There was none of that. And with Choupo-Moting, I was hoping he'd start kicking in some corners finally.
Sure.
And it's a lot of straight to the keeper. It's like, man, is it maybe one of the coaches at the New York Red Bulls? Like, so his finishing skills are still maybe being resharpened. I'm hoping they're still being resharpened. However, there's a good chance that
is that what Zandro Schwartz would say in the press conference? Well, we're still resharpening his finishing skills, so it'll be just a couple more weeks until we're done with that.
Nah, I think that's a Stefan Schnitzel special, man. I have ways. You know, maybe I'm a little ADHD. Maybe I'm a little synesthetic or whatever. I haven't done. Maybe my brain profile. I like to analyze the game a little differently than the average person does. So I'm just like, we got to resharpen his finishing skills. It's just something I'll say, like it's something that everyone else says.
Isn't this not obvious to everyone?
Yeah, we gotta like those old Boston market commercials. We gotta sharpen those knives.
We gotta lay him over the okay.
But anyway, no complaints. Youngsters are being played. Teams figuring each other out. Choupo-Moting, like I said,
Choupo-Moting is getting a goal every other game. That's pretty good.
Goal every other game. And then Lewis Morgan injured. I'd love to get him healthy. Let's get Lewis Morgan back. I'd love to get Lewis Morgan back. He's he's exactly the kind of player I love. A journeyman dude who's no shabby and gives his heart to his club.
He's good.
Exactly what he is. So yeah, that's the Red Bulls. And we had NYCFC. We had LAFC beating in Miami in the Champions Cup. Let's do a Champions Cup check, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna say briefly, we're playing Philadelphia Union on Saturday. That's gonna be interesting.
That's not good. That's not good.
Potentially,
it's 3-2 right now. By the way, I'm gonna put this game.
We were so. Yeah, I mean, you know, we had that since we had that lead in Atlanta, where I was thinking, oh, we're going to be in 4th place or something. This is a magical season, and since then, it's been all downhill. So we will see. This is kind of a big. I mean, obviously, there's no must-win games, of course, at this point in the season. But
way too early to talk.
This is a big game. This is gonna.
Is it?
If we. I mean, yeah, I think so. If we lose this too, then this season is going pear-shaped quickly. We're not in a playoff spot right now. If we lose at home to the Union, that would be pretty bad. However, if we if we win, then that'd be pretty good too, because they're not. So this is a statement, perhaps potentially a statement game. Daniel Young says he has to apologize to Arsenal. Yeah, it's true. Declan Rice scored 2 free kicks. Wow. So he says. We talked about that earlier in the Germany hour. Anyway, take it away. CONCACAF Cup.
Yeah, It is 3-2. I'm going to try to plug in here.
3-2
So we have.
for Tigres.
Well, first thing I wanted to say is losing at home to Philadelphia Union, one of the hottest clubs MLS right now, is not. There's no shame in that. I mean, expect it, dude.
Well,
God, I have a million passwords. I just want people to remember my passwords. Can't the people robbing my identity remind me of my passwords? Can't they text them to me and be like, "Hey, these were your passwords, by the way"? That's all I need. But so we have 4 MLS teams left in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, one of my favorite competitions. There is only one all MLS matchup. And the sad reality is there's a good chance that's going to be the only MLS team making it to the Final Four. We got Club America versus Cruz Azul. We've got Tigres versus LA Galaxy, which is happening right now. There's about 30 minutes left. Tigres is leading 3-2. I just got it loaded.
So the first game was scoreless. Is that what happened?
I believe so. It was a tie. All first round games were ties, except for LAFC.
So that means the Galaxy are 1 goal away from advancing currently.
Oh yeah, because if it is away goals,
because of the away goal rule, which is dead everywhere except this competition.
Hey, the Museum of Soccer Rules, North America. But and Vancouver and Pumas is in it because Vancouver's great. They're doing great. And Pumas, I cannot pretend to be an expert on how Pumas is doing right now. But maybe Vancouver, like this game, the Galaxy Tigres game is the one game where the Galaxy definitely are up against it. Because Vancouver is in great shape, and then LAFC and Miami can take care of each other. So if any of the MLS teams get through, Galaxy is probably the one that is least expected. But yeah, so they've got 23 minutes to score 1 goal. Go Galaxy. Inter Miami, LAFC. LAFC won 1-0. A lot of celebrities there. It was a big event. And then they have their big game tomorrow to decide. It's in Miami. I have a feeling that Miami will get through. I think 1-0 is a win, but not much of a win.
The Real Madrid of MLS.
Yeah, well, they just, I mean, they just got firepower. When Messi wants to win, they win.
Good,
they got
pretty good, but even more lucky.
Yeah. Plus, rumor is that maybe Kevin De Bruyne will start joining that circus over the summer, which will be
okay. Let's tell me what you think about that.
Well, I mean, Inter Miami doesn't have any money left, so how are they going to sign KDB? Just with the rules. First off, maybe KDB will do a thing when he'll be a TAM player or something. I don't know. But the big thing is I'm all about it. There was a weird post. Max Bretos said that he's not pretty much Max Bretos, who I have a lot of respect for, old school dude. He said that Kevin De Bruyne is being touted to be a $15 million player like Lorenzo Insigne. And Max Bretos says he's not worth that. Lorenzo Insigne should be a cautionary tale. Kevin De Bruyne is not worth $15 million. And I'm like, those two players ain't alike. All right. Lorenzo Insigne didn't have anything near the career that Kevin De Bruyne had. Kevin De Bruyne, Wolfsburg reject, who went off to crush. No. I know he's not a reject, but it's crazy to think he was at Wolfsburg. And then he went to just dominate Man City for 10 seasons.
Who was his coach? Who was his coach at Wolfsburg? Dieter Hecking, baby.
Oh, no way. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that relevant in any way?
Well,
he's the one that got rid of him. He's like, we don't need this guy.
No, he's not. They got rid of him. He got transferred out for a lot of money. He was very good at Wolfsburg. This is why Dieter Hecking has a ton of Champions League games. There was some stat that he's like the coach with the third most Champions League games in or something. Like
not with Bochum.
No, not with Bochum, but with Wolfsburg and Kevin De Bruyne. Because those were the golden days for them. KDB, he just strikes me. He strikes me. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you that he is definitely not in the same category as Insigne. Now, the counter argument to that is that Insigne was in his prime, is like 27, 28. So he was not, whereas KDB now is 33, and he's a dynamic midfielder, and he definitely fell a little bit off a cliff at Man City. He's not a starter. And so, yeah, I mean, he just strikes me as a guy who is easily this is obviously total conjecture, but I'm imagining Kevin De Bruyne as a guy who would come to MLS and would just be annoyed with everything. Would just be
Right.
like, "Ugh, this is all stupid." And he'd be okay, but I don't think he would be um I don't think he would crush it. So I think I ultimately would agree that, I mean, whether it's 10, it's not even so much about the money, obviously 10 million, 12 million, 50, whatever, but like, but just in terms of the composition of a team, I don't know. I think it'd be challenging.
Question,
Um,
Bjorn. This is
yes.
now. I'm not. This is maybe a stupid question. You're an. I'm gonna bow down to your expertise. Now, forgive me. This is stupid.
Oh boy.
Do we have to pay 75% tariffs on these players now that they're coming in?
Well,
Is
only if
Kevin De Bruyne? Do we have to pay him a 75% tariff
no,
on
no,
top
no.
of his
This
salary? Is that
is
how that works?
this depends on the
Because we're bringing them in, we're importing them, right? These are imported players. So
yeah, but there's not one number for this. This depends on what our trade different deficit is with each.
imagine if we got him in from China. Imagine if he was in the
Yeah.
Chinese league. It was
Enormous.
115% or whatever.
Well, no, in the case of we don't. There's no. Yeah, the trade deficit is small, so I think in that case the tariffs would be lower. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's not.
Maybe that's what they have to pay for.
It's
Half of
not
his
a
salary
stupid
is a tariff.
question. It's a very
Right.
it's a very apt question.
Are human beings imported products? Is what I'm asking. well,
And
but here's a question for you, Bjorn.
yes. Hold on.
MLS.
Daniel
Sorry,
Young
go
will
for it.
not be sitting in section 101. Thanks for letting me know. I don't know yet what I'm doing on Saturday in terms of where I'm going to be at Citi Field. But anyway, go ahead, please.
MLS, which I want to talk about, turned
Yep.
30 this past weekend. 30
Yeah.
years old. He's an old boy. He's in his 30s now.
It's
Our boy,
yeah.
MLS. MLS is quirky, and in MLS has never had a season where the rules weren't batshit crazy. And this season is no exception, as Kevin De Bruyne has been discovered by Inter Miami. They discovered him.
The discovery rights.
And now Kevin De Bruyne has an overlord that signs his checks. They're called the City Football Group. They sign his checks. However, when it comes to MLS, Inter Miami gets first dibs because they quote unquote discovered him. How does that make you feel? That if you wanted to go to NYCFC, you'd have to negotiate with Inter Miami first. You can't just transfer one club to the other.
Well, I think I'm having a deja vu moment. Haven't we had this?
I hate these rules. These are ridiculous rules. Ridiculous.
I somehow often find myself in this position where I'm end up defending them, which in this case I do not want to do. I think this is I think this is dumb.
And B, you're allowed one player, Kevin De Bruyne or Thomas Muller. Who do you pick for NYCFC this summer? Reinforcements. Only one. You like KDB or TM, one or the other.
Ooh, that's tough. I think I don't think either of them would
that's another thing. We'll talk about that in a second.
if I had to pick one,
pretend you're getting them. They're both decent. They're both hardworking.
I mean, if I'm in charge, I pick Muller, man. The guy's a legend. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I would love to see.
KDB is probably the better choice. You do need a Maxi Morales
it seems
replacement.
sort of
so 5 years younger.
It seems to make more sense, kind of in a way, like because he's a City guy, and I just can't. I mean, I would pick Muller if I had to picture it. It's easier to picture KDB than Muller. Actually,
how is the Raumdeutler going to find space on that field?
The Raumdeutler, well, that's where his skill is going to be extra valuable.
You got to find space on this field.
I mean, if anyone can, he can.
But you bring up an interesting point. Whenever big names get touted, it's always a mystery because we just don't know how much they're going to want to be here. And historically, it shows they're retired mentally, usually. Not all the time. There's been some exceptions,
And
but usually they're the exceptions. Like like Olivier Giroud, right? What the heck's he been doing at LAFC? So will Kevin De Bruyne futz around? He's been really linked with San Diego FC for some reason. If he goes to San Diego FC, is he going to really play his heart out, or is he, like you said, going to get mad at the turf, mad at the travel, mad at the heat? Mad at the fact that it's not first class accommodations, mad at the fact they don't get stopped on the street every day like they're used to. Like
oh
if
man,
only there was some way. If only there was
like,
some way for us to have like a psychologist's analysis of them.
I would add to that also that I mean everything I agree with everything you're saying. In addition to that, I think there is also a uh I mean, I don't want to say undue because it is kind of due if you're getting paid like, 10 times as much as the next guy, you should face pressure, but it's also I feel like it's sometimes unrealistic. Like the expectations are unrealistic towards these guys. Like they're supposed to be these like and in soccer it's just not like that. In
Right.
basketball this happens, you have one guy and the whole team is totally transformed. In soccer that just doesn't happen. If everybody else sucks, one guy just doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
So then also people are like, well, he's supposed to be so good. What is he doing? I mean, we saw this with Pirlo and Lampard and NYCFC. Who I feel like we're fine. I don't think, I mean, Pirlo at some point got definitely was too old and he wasn't defending well, but anyway, I didn't think this. I didn't have this reaction of like, "Oh my god, these guys are total flops." It was like they were good in some way. They clearly had some quality, and also, we're dealing with a very bad team around them.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a team sport. They're past. They're on the decline of their careers. A.
yeah,
B. They're not as hungry mentally.
yeah, and
Not really.
expectations are high, and that is often it's a tough combination. That's why it's so rare for you to say like, "Oh, what an amazing signing." Daniel Young says KDB. We'd have to pick KDB obviously because we need midfielders. Yes, that is true. KDB would slot into that
But then
hole
Bjorn couldn't buy
that
a Thomas Muller
that
NYCFC jersey.
Santi said. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean this is definitely me, the homer talking. I think from a team composition. If he comes tomorrow, that is true because he could slot into that hole that Santi Rodriguez left in the number 10 position, where Maxi Morales is looking increasingly 38 years old.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if maybe the next step in evolution is to have a full psychologist analysis telling you how up for the gig they are. You know what I mean? Just like he has an 8 out of 10 rating for will care about the
Yeah,
job. Like Emil Forsberg, for instance, good example. Big DP. He's not Leo Messi. He was just a solid Bundesliga star on Leipzig. And he's used to first class treatment, high salary. And he's come to New York and he's played his little butt off.
but
I know he's been injured, but like
but I would also say that and I think I'm not sure what I said. What I said and didn't say, but I think he also just even on paper felt like a good fit because he's kind of a blue collar guy, and
right.
he was put into a team that was already kind of pretty hard working around him that was tough defensively, etc. So that like seemed like it was going to work, and
Yeah, Robbie.
he also is like that sort of lower tier kind of player where people don't, it's not like thousands of people are coming to buy his jersey, or like he's not on the level of even Zlatan or Pirlo
Right.
or even Schweinsteiger perhaps.
Right. No, definitely
Um,
not. Well, I think that there. I've thought Robbie Keane's a good example of this.
yeah,
I think there is
exactly.
a profile to
Perfect.
look at because Robbie Keane's Irish.
Yeah,
He was an English star, but he's from the Irish league, is a backwater league. Ireland's like the Irish, So for an Irish dude to go to England and be a star is different than someone like a Steven Gerrard, who was way less effective at
sure.
Galaxy, born and raised in Liverpool. Like Like people from the English Premier League, from the Bundesliga, from the people from those leagues only know first class treatment versus players like from Scandinavia, because the Scandinavian league is very similar to MLS. Small stadiums, probably harsh conditions, plays over the summertime. Players who come from lesser developed countries or like Eastern Europeans that go to these leagues become stars there. They're a much better fit because they've been there and done that. Just like South Americans, like they deal with harsh playing in the Brazilian league and the Argentinian league and the Colombian league and the Chilean league has a lot of the same hardships that MLS has: long travel, oppressive heat. It's definitely not first class travel and first class hotels all the time. The players who come from a place where it's not all first class treatment, I think mentally are better fit for MLS.
Yeah, that might be.
So
I mean, that might be bad. And also, attackers work better than midfielders. Probably, if you have somebody, you have just somebody up front, like
sitting
the
there, yeah,
defenders are probably not as good. You're just not quite. Your whatever brilliance you have, is immediately rewarded. If you have somebody like Schweinsteiger or Pirlo who are supposed to like run a team from a deep lying position, that is much more difficult, to pull off with a bunch of people you just met.
yeah. Also in their advanced age. Now, so some
Yeah.
some roles, like if you're just up top finishing, that age is like a fine wine. But like you said earlier about CB being one of the toughest roles in modern soccer. Yeah, the old adage is for a CB, if you have 89 minutes of a perfect game, but then you mess up for 1 minute,
Yeah,
you're the lowest rated player on the team.
it's
And
like
for
goalkeeping.
forwards, the exact opposite. 89 minutes of screwing up, and then for 1 minute you're brilliant. All of a sudden, you're the highest rated player on the team. So the margin of error is opposite of each other. So for CB at an advanced age, yeah, you're not allowed to slip ups. So it is what it is. So you're
Um,
not super enthused for KDB or Thomas Muller
I
because
mean,
you
I
just
would be
challenged how
enthused.
much they care, right?
I would be enthused as a fan because I would want to, I'd want to see them play and
Yeah.
see how it goes. But it would, I mean, but as a sporting director, I would really hesitate.
It's
Um,
let's do a little Vegas here. Elvis Presley was big in Germany, right? And he was a young whippersnapper, but then he took 10 years off. And then if you want, you can catch him for cheap in Vegas as a fat man. You could have done that later in his career, right? So the KDB, like these
that is a
DPs, if
very,
they catch it,
that is an incredible summation of his career.
yeah, I read a Wikipedia article real quick. Yeah, he stopped doing public shows for 8 years, right? He had like a big pause. He just did movies or something, and then he went back to the concert. He was much fatter, and he was in Vegas for included as part of the
I
free
mean,
buffet, right?
yeah, a lot of stuff happened in between, but okay, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Where are you going? Where are you
But
going?
as for an old DP, it's like it's cool to see them, but remember, there's a good chance it's the Vegas show. It's
It's the
not the
Vegas phase. Yeah.
yeah, it's the Vegas phase of these guys. So you know, but anyway,
But yeah, that's true. Daniel Young is saying, to be honest, I'm surprised we haven't signed a new midfielder from Scandinavia or Eastern Europe. I guess this is NYCFC. And he says, thank you for bringing that up, Stefan. Good note for David Lee. I'm not sure exactly what
I mean the
he's
mentality,
referring to, but
my theory of the
yeah,
mentality.
the hungriness, and
Get an Irish guy,
the
get
psychological.
a Scandinavian guy, or get an Eastern European guy, or a
So
South
yeah,
American guy, or an African guy.
sporting director David Lee is becoming increasingly under fire by the fans, as expected. As expected.
You and Daniel
Um,
Young are throwing eggs at his house. Good.
I don't think Daniel Young does not strike me as a man who would do such a thing.
I
But
have something for you today, Bjorn. Unless you have
yes,
something you want to get into.
no, go for it. Go for it.
I almost did something crazy. I did something crazy last Wednesday because I like doing crazy things. My weird schedule is I'm usually up at night, and last Wednesday I just drove all around California, went stargazing, went to a casino, lost a lot of money and stuff. But anyway, on Saturday, I knew so MLS is 30 years old. Our boy is 30. And the very, very first game, which we already talked about, was San Jose Earthquakes versus DC United up in San Jose. I want to say it's Spartan Stadium. It's odd they chose that to be their first game, but it is what it is. And Eric Ronaldo scored the late winner, and we had a guy with a parachute, and it was a big launch, and boom, it was like a fun thing. 30 years later, they're commemorating that exact game And Bruce Arena's on the sidelines again. He was the coach of DC United 30 years ago. This
very
weekend, he
funny.
was the coach of San Jose.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot of
great.
the old players came out. You know, it would have been. I almost went because I was like, God, I worked till like 6 a.m. I could have gotten my car, just made it up there, and then maybe just drive all the way back down just in time for work again. You know?
Oh my
But it would have
god.
been 12 hours of driving, no sleeping. I was like, so I didn't
Oh,
do it because
no,
I didn't do it.
that was the
But I
correct.
really wish I went because do you know on Saturday, I guess I'm on their Facebook page, Crazy George did a video that he was going to be there. Crazy George.
I don't know who Crazy
Now,
George is.
exactly. I want to bring up the story of Crazy George. Now, there are famous players like Thomas Muller and Kevin De Bruyne. And there are famous coaches like Dieter Hecking and Bruce Arena. But did you know? Did you know that there are famous fans? Did you know that?
Well, I'm well, no, okay. I didn't, I guess. There are
We're
some.
we're we're known, but we're not as known as Crazy George. So Crazy George is a
I was
professional fan.
I was joking, of course. I do not think of
No,
myself as a famous fan.
no. Crazy George, though, is a famous American soccer fan. And he was at that game on the weekend, and we could have seen Crazy George again with his drum. And I'd love to introduce you all, if you don't know him already, the legend of Crazy George. Now, I don't know if Germany has this, but Brazil had a famous fan as well. There was a dude that attended every World Cup since like 1970, maybe even since 1958, since they hosted, or 50, was it 58 when they hosted? And you know how he paid for his trip? He was just a very simple man. God knows what he did for a living, but he was at every single World Cup. He attended every single World Cup. Do you know how he paid for his journey, Bjorn?
Selling stamps.
Close. He sold ad space on his T-shirt,
Oh, all right.
and that funded his trips. Back then, it was probably cheaper. You probably can't do that now. And I remember reading about him in 2002. So the man has probably
So
passed away, but
he was an early influencer.
he was an early influencer, Brazilian influencer. Now, my earliest memory of Crazy George is watching the 1994 World Cup. And on the broadcast, I want to say it was JP Dellacamera or Bob Lee or one of those
Mm,
guys
mm.
being like, "There's Crazy George. He's been in American soccer crowds since the NASL days." So he was a San Jose Earthquakes like cheerleader. He's this old bald dude with a scrabbly voice and has a drum. He goes, "Go San Jose!" Boom, 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 boom. And he was rooting for the San Jose Earthquakes from maybe even before the George Best days.
Okay.
He was from back then. And he was a cheerleader at the Oakland Athletics. I think he was in Kansas City for a bit. But if you go to his website, he has a list of like 30 professional sporting organizations that have hired him to be a cheerleader for them. And
Oh,
what
so
he
he's a
does is,
mercenary?
I mean, I think he is. He's made a living
He's
doing
a
it. He wrote a
he's a
book about it.
he's a fan for hire?
He's a fan for hire. But do you know what he's famous for?
This is why
Bjorn?
why you gravitate towards him, because your fandoms are flexible?
No. I just love any character, honestly. Maybe I'm the
Okay,
next Crazy George. Here we
perhaps.
go. During his career, Henderson has worked for a number of teams in many different sports, including Ball State Cardinals, British Columbia Lions, and just goes and goes and goes. Vancouver Giants, Winnipeg Jets. I mean, the dude's been around. In media, George appeared in an episode of The Match Game, Hollywood Squares. He was on an episode of To Tell the Truth. He had a small role in the 1976 cult film, The Milpitas Monster, and he was featured in the 10th season episode of America's Got Talent, during which his entire act consisted solely of leading the audience in the wave. He was buzzed out by judges in seconds. This man invented the wave. The Mexican wave, because it
He
started in
invented
Mexico.
the wave? Come on.
That's what he says. Now, granted, it's, you know,
That's
I've,
why
I've
then
heard rumors. I've heard rumors it started at the college game. I've heard rumors it started in Mexico. It's why it's called the Mexican wave. But he claims he started the
La
wave.
Ola.
What's
They've
La
done
Ola?
this that's the Wave. That's like I guess
I'm an
that's why
American. We say the Wave around
I
here. I
guess
don't know
that's
what
why they could I guess his name they don't call him Reasonable George or factually accurate George. No.
No, he's Crazy
He's
George.
Crazy George.
George,
So, okay.
the Wave. George is the inventor of the wave. The first documented use of the wave was during his cheerleading routine on October 15th, 1981, while at a nationally televised Oakland Athletics American League Championship Series games against the New York Yankees. George says the wave was originally inspired by accident when he was leading cheers at a Colorado Rockies National Hockey League game at McNichols Sports Arena in Denver, Colorado in 1980. He continued working on leading the wave at an NHL game at Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the same year where Edmonton Oilers star Wayne Gretzky met George in the postgame locker room and invited him to dinner. These are definitely written by him, by the way. At the Colorado Rockies game in late 1980, there was a delayed response because people say it was invented in the 86 World Cup. It's like, well, we have proof of it being in 81. There you go. His professional career, excuse me. His professional career included leading cheers for the United States men's national team in the 1994 FIFA World Cup, and he does a lot of USA games at Stanford Stadium and Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, California. He has worked for numerous minor league sports teams. As of 2024, he's still appearing at San Jose Earthquakes games in San Jose. Anyway, Crazy George, born in 1944, was at the San Jose Earthquakes game this weekend. Oh, his birthday is one day after mine. And I almost drove up just to see him banging on that drum. Boom, boom, boom. No, San Jose. Now, can he name any of the players on the San Jose Earthquakes? I'd probably doubt. I'd be doubtful of that.
Only if they write him a check.
But yeah, the league is 30 years old, and the Crazy George is still around. One of these days, I want to go up to San Jose and check him out in person. This is the legend of Crazy George.
Crazy George. Crazy George with a K too, right?
With a K. Yeah, that's right. He also wrote a book.
So
I should
crazy.
read. What's his book called? His book
I'm
is
just
called...
gonna come right out and say that I am not gonna read his book.
The book's called Crazy George.
I'm just
Still
gonna be
crazy
honest.
after all these years.
Still crazy with a K?
Yeah, and the book, it came out in 2014.
Wow. All right.
I
So
want to read that book.
he's a businessman, that guy.
Well, he's not. I know. Quick plug into the Tigres Galaxy game. There's a minute and a half left, and Tigres is still leading 3-2. The Galaxy have
goal,
90 seconds.
Galaxy. One goal for American soccer honor.
The Mexican players are fighting and yelling and stopping and screwing with the ref, doing the Mexican dark arts. Come on, Galaxy, do it. There's a long ball now. But I just wanted to share the legend of Crazy George with you.
The
The
Wikipedia article about the wave, which is in Germany, they call La Ola, by the way.
In Germany, it's called Lola?
Yeah. They do give credit to Crazy George for inventing it. So if I was doubting and perhaps chuckling at this idea, I apologize. Crazy George does apparently deserve some credit for this. So good for him. Daniel Young had a good experience at Citi Field. He went to a Mets game on Monday, sat in section 338, and liked the view. And a staff member told him that section gave fans a great view of the soccer pitch, and so she was very nice. Even a Germany fan. Yeah, I'm struggling with where to sit in Citi Field at NYCFC games.
I thought, didn't you say weren't the views better at Citi Field? Am I wrong? Didn't you say the views were better at Citi Field? Didn't you prefer
food
Citi
is
Field?
better. The food is better
Oh,
at Citi Field. The stadium itself is nicer, in my opinion. But I haven't, and there are some good spots. It's like I haven't figured out my spot. So I appreciate this input, Daniel. I may take a look at 338. Your thoughts on the Mets owner? Daniel Young wants to know our thoughts on the Mets owner Steve Cohen attending the NYCFC versus Miami game in September. He will probably look to own NYCFC away from the Yankees. Ooh, Daniel Young with the spicy take. Really?
Dang.
I mean, that I have not heard anywhere or even thought about. I know Marcelo Claure is a minority investor. I don't know if the Yankee stake is for sale. Steve Cohen is building a casino next to our new stadium. I mean, there is that proximity.
Right.
So I guess it would make some sense. The Yankees have not been great owners. I've said this
Let's
before.
say
There's no love lost there. If they want to sell their stake to somebody, that's totally fine.
it'd be good to have a local owner who cares. So that actually would be good news if true, because it'd be maybe it's his property. That sounds like it'd be a good move. Also, maybe to go away from City Football Group is not a bad. I personally
Oh,
would
he's
not
going to just buy the
think it'd be
whole
good.
thing, not just the
Well,
Yankees. The Yankees
how
have
much is that? Was he have $1
10%.
trillion lying around?
The Yankees have a 10% stake. So if he wants to buy it from City Football Group, that's going to take a lot more. Yeah, who know? I have
Oh,
not
got
heard
it.
this. I have not heard this. I had no idea.
Just a small stake. Okay, I understand. Two things: the Galaxy are officially eliminated from CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Okay, as
Big
we
League swing 3-2. And Daniel Young, are you saying that a Met staff member is a German soccer fan and gave you tips on how best to watch soccer in the stadium? Is that who's the staff
I
member?
think that's what he's saying.
Krazy George himself?
What?
Excellent.
All right.
Now the spirit of Krazy. Excellent. So there you go. MLS is 30 years old. Americans invented the wave, man. Krazy George is out there
Crazy George. I mean, this is big.
banging his drum.
This is big. I'm not even gonna
Pick up his book.
I'm left speechless here.
Telling you, man, he's a real deal. Look up the legend of Krazy George. He's a great He's a great part of the American League. Perhaps oft forgotten as he's a little older, but he's still banging his drum up in San Jose. And I, for one, want to go visit and take a look because that's part of American soccer history to me. All right, everybody, this has been the USA Hour.
Well, what a pleasure.
We didn't talk about the FIFA Club World Cup. We can save that for later. Them trying to package in some World Cup tickets in there. USA women sold the stadium better than the USA men. I got thoughts about that, but no point. We'll talk about that later. Next week. Go MLS.
I'm not traveling. Thank Jesus. Okay.
Me neither.
Very good.
Inter Miami.
See you on Monday.
Vancouver. Go Vancouver tomorrow. We're rooting for Vancouver tomorrow. Oh, Vancouver. All right. Tschüss.
Tschüss. Macht's gut.